What's going on, fellas? Let me give you all some more red pill truth. Some more harsh, cold-hearted truth. Open your ears up. This fairy tale fantasy crap that you guys hear, that women are supposed to be loyal to you, fellas, stop. Just completely stop. Your grandparents, you know, the couple that's been the dream couple for everyone, back in the old time couples, the couples who were able to make their marriages last 50, 60 years, or however long they lived. Even in that time, loyalty was a myth. Let me explain. You see, it's not loyalty that exists. It's not loyalty that people are craving. It's the survival. If your woman, when I say it's the loyalty that people are craving, I'm talking about women. When women say I'm loyal, when they say I'm a loyal type, what they really mean is that I'm very good at surviving. Back in the tribal era days, when one tribe of men got just completely erased by another tribe of men, what did that tribe of women do, whose men just got obliterated? They opened their legs up for the new herd of men, and they submitted to them, and they started bearing their kids and getting along with their program, serving them. You see that in the animal kingdom all the time. When a lion comes in another lioness's nest and he kills the other lion, he also kills the baby that the other lion had with this lioness. Now, we humans are not as extreme, maybe because of our frontal cortex's development, right? Because our brain has developed a lot more than a lion's brain. That's why we have more empathy and sympathy for kids, for children, right? Especially men do. Men, we is just in our DNA to have more sympathy towards children and women. It's our protector side kicks in. Maybe that's why we don't kill another man's babies. But what do? We start having this love-hate relationship to those kids, right? In the back of our head, subconsciously, we can never accept these kids 100% because they're not ours. And that's why we kind of neglected them, even back on those days. We probably didn't kill them, but we probably neglected them. If it was a new king, if a guy just killed the old king and became the new king, he's probably gonna start banging the queen and having kids with her, and the other king's children are not gonna get the throne. They're gonna be they would have been neglected. His own kids would have gotten the throne because it's just in our DNA, fellas. This is thousands and thousands of years of human evolution. Nowadays, yes, women don't need to get into that type of survival mode anymore because we have the law and military and police to protect us from outside harms, from outside forces. That's why if a woman decides to marry a guy or date a guy, usually physical threats are not in question for her to monkey branch off to somebody else. What is in question, though, is finances and her emotional ups and downs. If she doesn't feel emotionally secure, she's going to feel the need to survive, and she's going to go out and get that need met. If she doesn't feel financially stable, financially secure, she's going to go out and step out on you and going to get that need met. So loyalty is not even a question. Loyalty is not even a thing when it comes to women. It's a myth. You know who is loyal? Your homeboys and your dog. Because this loyalty was never developed inside of women. This goes back to evolution. Back in the days, as I just said, women did not develop that side of their brain to be loyal to one man and one man only, because they knew they needed to survive, so they could not attach themselves, cling themselves 100% mentally and psychologically. Otherwise, what would have happened is her man would have been killed by another man, and she would not have been able to get along with this new man's program. She would have ended up killing herself, because we all know how attached women are to their emotions. We all know how big of slaves women are to their emotions. This is why that part of their emotion was never developed to be loyal to one man. That's why they're not even capable to give you her 100% loyalty. But men, on the other hand, had to be 100% loyal to his other fellow brothers. Why? Because we went out and we hunted together. We killed animals together, animals that were much, much, much bigger, faster, stronger than us. So we needed to rely on another guy, on the next brother who's next to us. Because I was going to watch your back and you were going to watch my back. One guy was going to watch your back when you're sleeping, and when he wakes up and you're sleeping, he's going to watch your back. Vice versa. Same thing happens when you go to military training nowadays. Even today, when you go to military training, there's this thing called fire watch. Persons take turn. One person wakes up one time of the night, and he watches quote-unquote fire for everybody else. And then he goes to sleep, and then somebody else wakes up and watches fire. It's a drill, obviously, but in real life, when you're in a combat situation and there's a real fire, then somebody's always going to be there to alarm everybody else, or in case of enemy attack or something along those lines. See, all of this is coming from the survival technique. Women did not have to develop this type of survival technique. All they had to do is lie on their back. So they did not need to go out and learn the physical tactics, the physical techniques, the fighting techniques, the survival techniques, how men need to survive when it comes to a battlefield and such. They didn't need to learn any of that, because they just gave men what men wanted if they were in terms of danger. Same thing happens in today's society as well, fellas. What do you see when a woman is about to get kidnapped or something? She tries to hide her body, right? Why? Because she thinks subconsciously that's all a man wants from her. If you haven't noticed, like, just watch criminal shows and whatnot on TV. Now, I know they're scripted, but it's just biologically ingrained in them that's what a man wants. So as soon as she gives it up to a man, she's secure, she's safe, he's not gonna kill her. Well, for the most part, unless she starts to plot some crap behind his back against him to kill him. That's a different story. Then you kill the bitch, plain and simple. But anyways, so as I was saying, men had to develop that side of their brain to be loyal to other men. And we naturally have this protector instinct that makes us automatically loyal to women. What's that hormone's name? I think vasopressin. Vasopressin is the chemical that gets released in our brain at a lot slower rate than what's the chemical that gets released? Oxytocin. Vasopressin gets released in our brain at a lot slower rate than oxytocin does in women's brain. Vasopressin is the number one chemical that makes us pair bond with women. And oxytocin is the number one chemical that makes women pair bond with us. But it's just the nature of these two chemicals that oxytocin is supposed to get released at a lot faster rate than vasopressin is. Which is why it's a negative thing if women sleep with multiple men. They're giving away their supply of oxytocin at a much higher rate, and it quickly gets dried up. The supply runs out of oxytocin in women's brain. This is why when women has a high body count, they cannot pair bond. But since vasopressin takes a lot longer for a man to release to pair bond with a woman, we can get away with sleeping as hundreds of women, sleeping with hundreds of women and as many women as we please, because our pair bonding ability is still there. Vasopressin has not being released. When does vasopressin start being released? It's usually after the first 3 to 4 months or 6 months or even longer in some cases. For example, if a guy like me who's a typical player who's been with tons of women, it's going to be hard for my vasopressin supply to start releasing vasopressin, because I have just been accustomed to just pump and dump or to just not get attached. Same thing with women. It's kind of like a high, you know? The more you do it, the more you need to get the next high. The more women fuck, the farther away it gets away from them to pair bond with another guy. The more oxytocin they need to release to pair bond with another guy. And since oxytocin is being released at a much faster rate, they're running out of it. And vasopressin, when the more we fuck, yeah, we're giving our oxytocin is going away too. But it's not our oxytocin that's the primary chemical for us men that makes us pair bond with women. It's vasopressin that's the primary chemical. For women, oxytocin is the primary chemical. Again, this goes back to evolution as well. Why? Because women needed a chemical that's, before I go to this evolution side of it, let me explain a little bit more about these two chemicals. So vasopressin is a type of chemical that it's harder to come out of you, to get released out of you, but once it does, the bond of it is much stronger than oxytocin's bond. This is why you'll see it's so much easier for women to move on from you than it is for a man to move on from his woman who dumped him or he dumped her. Even when guys break up with girls, it's still harder for him after the first week or so to get over her. But women, they move on like this. Partially because they have more options nowadays, but this is also chemicals going on in her head. So keeping that in mind, now let's go back to evolution. Since the rate of her husband getting killed by another man was so much higher back then, she needed something in her brain to control her in a way so that she doesn't fall hook, line, and sinker only for one man, so that it's easier for her to move on from one man to the next man. That's why vasopressin is not the number one primary chemical in their head. But for us men, since we had more options back then, see, women have more options than we do today, so via social media and dating apps or whatever, because the need to protect and provide are not there as much as the need of protect and provide were there back then. Why? Because women are strong and independent. They're making their own money, and there's cops and military to protect us, so they don't need to rely on men for the money or the protection. This is why women nowadays have a lot more options than men do. But back then, when women solely relied on a man, and if that man was an alpha male where he could provide and protect, he had all the women under him. Now, if he made a woman pregnant, and we did not have birth control back then, keep that in mind, this woman would be vulnerable for the next 9 months. So this man needed to stick with her through that 9-month period. So he needed something in his brain to hold him down with this woman, and vasopressin was the chemical. A chemical that's so much stronger than oxytocin, but still harder to come by than oxytocin, so that finally when he decided, you know what, I'm gonna choose her out of all these chicks. I'm not just gonna fall for every chick who throws herself at me. I'll probably slay her. I might pull out, because they didn't have condoms back then either, right? But I'm not gonna get anyone pregnant but this one. So he was the selective one back then in terms of making a family or whatnot. So when he finally decided to do that and get into this vasopressin, get into this state of being a father, quote unquote, he needed to stay with this woman. And this chemical gave him the incentive to stay. This chemical made it easier for him to stay. See, all these things made that side of a man's brain develop to be loyal. But a woman's mind was never even developed like that. So what makes you think it's going to be developed now? Oh, just because you send her some beautiful good morning, beautiful texts? Wake the hell up, dude. Wake up. Your dog's going to be way more loyal to you than your bitch will ever be. No pun intended. Fellas, you guys need to stop with this bull crap that women can be loyal. They're loyal. They're able to love you for who you are. They're able to give you love. They're able to be loyal to you. No. Loyalty from women is a myth. Just another red pill truth. I promise you, if your grandma was a 21st century's woman, she would have turned out to be the exact same how the rest of these thoughts are. Now you might blame that on the media or whatnot. No, fellas. This is women's nature. See, we did have technological advancement, yes, but women are still human beings. They're still made out of flesh and bones. They're not technologies. Women are not robots, right? That you just insert a chip in their head that makes them thoughts out of a sudden. No, this this hoe-like behavior, this slutty behavior has always been them since the day Adam and Eve or gorillas started becoming men and women. Whatever story you believe in. If you believe in gorillas and monkeys becoming human, or if you believe in Adam and Eve story. Since day one, women had these natures in them. Social media and technology is just helping us see them more. That's the only difference. It's just getting these natures out of them at a lot faster and a lot easier rate. Plain and simple. The nature has never changed. We just have platforms like YouTube to share this with multiple men across the world. Things that we didn't have back then. I hope I was able to go into a very deep state. I hope I was able to go very deep in this video to explain this thing to you guys. And I hope it made sense. I really do, fellas, because this is, in my opinion, to become red pill aware, to accept the red pill, this is one of the pillars. This video title right here is she's not able to be loyal. She's not able to love. She's not able to care. She's just not. She's just able to survive. So whatever the best situation is for her to survive, she's going to make the best out of that. And she's going to put a facade to make everybody else around her think that she has the most interest in this situation. That's the best for her. DM me on Instagram, fellas. Follow me on Instagram at zeekpeak. Ask me questions. I hope I can explain more questions to you guys. We need to wake more and more men up. This game is going to continuously keep getting dirtier and dirtier. These women out here are gonna continuously become more and more slutty. There's nothing we can do about it. We just have to accept it. We just have to keep grinding, stay on our own grind, stay on our own path, stay focused, doing what we're doing. And hey, if somebody wants to fall in on our path and get along with us, cool. If not, we still got our purpose. These women ain't shit. They're losers. All they do is put on makeup, show their titties and ass, take pictures, get dick down, and get tossed to the side of the road. And when she's about to hit the wall, she finds a beta male provider and settles down with him, divorce rapes him, and then repeats the cycle. You telling me that's a life worth living? That's a pathetic garbage man, homeless person's life. I feel like a trash guy, a homeless guy's life is better than that. Pitiful. Like, comment, subscribe, share this video to your friends. Until next time, stay blessed, stay beautiful, and above all, stay classy.